Hi everyone, and thank you for being here for my presentation entitled Demystifying OAuth2 and OIDC. And as you see, you will try to demystify these two concepts, and I will follow some logic steps to make it easy and to let you understand what is these two concepts. Let's say for now we will call it concepts, and you will be, I hope you will be, it will be much easier and much clearer for next time. So maybe let me present myself before starting. My name is Nejmeddine BEN OUARRED. I'm a senior staff engineer at a company called SFEIR. So we have some agency in France, in Luxembourg, in Belgium also. And my main topics on the two subjects that I work on are APIs and Google Cloud Platform. I'm also a Google authorized trainer on GCP and APG APG courses. In this presentation, I will try to explain some concepts. So we will start by explaining the OAuth2 concepts and terminology. We will see together which OAuth2 flows and in which use cases you will use them. And finally, we will try to explain why we are adding OIDC or OpenID Connect, and what is the relation between OpenID Connect and OAuth. This is how looks my customer and also my students when I'm delivering some official training after explaining them OAuth2. And this is a task that I'm doing since several years, and the first times I was shocked because I think that it was something easy to understand and to adopt, but I realized after that sometimes it could be difficult, and especially when in front of me I have person that this is the first time that will manipulate or use API and try to secure their APIs. First of all, as I said, I will demystify, so I will try to make this concept easy and simple. First of all, you need to know that OAuth is an authorization framework. It's not authentication, it's an authorization framework that allows users or clients to grant access to server resources to another entity without sharing credentials. This is the main topic. So when you implement or you use OAuth, the idea is to let the consumer who is trying to call an API get an authorization. You will see which type of, we'll speak about token later, and without sharing his credential. You see here also that there is a spec that define or let's say explain which grant type you can use for which reasons, and in this spec you have also all terminologies that you use, and what I will try to explain in the later slides are let's say I will not explain lines by lines the spec, but I will give you the most important thing to keep in mind to make these concepts much simpler. So we will try, or I will try to explain the concept of the resource owner, the concept of the resource server, which is the authorization server, which is the concept of token and scopes, the client, the type of application, and the different type of authorization grant. And now it's still confusing. I know that I giving you all the terminology, and for person who is discovering for the first time OAuth 2 is still confusing, and the idea now is to deep dive all these concepts. So for that, I will let's say I will give you a story, and imagine we are in or we have a farm. So we have a farm, and you will see that when I'm explaining all component or all things that are in relation in this farm, so you will make the analogy of the OAuth concept. So let's start with the resource owner. The resource owner, imagine the resource owner is the owner of the farm. So the owner of the farm is the resource owner. He is the man that, or he is the man who has has the ownership of all what you will find in this farm. So the definition is the resource owner is an entity capable of granting access to all protected resources when the resources owner is a person, so it's referred to as an end user. So in our case, imagine that the farm owner is the resource owner. So he is the owner of the farm. Now the resource server is the server hosting the protected resources. So if we go back to our story, so we can imagine that the farm is, or inside what you have inside the farm and what you have inside the boundary of the farm is your resource server, and inside you will find all resources or pets, for example, or any fruits, or what can you find in a farm inside the boundary of the farm. Now let's come to the authorization server, and for the authorization server also I will speak about the token and the scope. The authorization server, you can imagine that this man who will be in the door of the farmer and given access or not to person that want to visit, or let's say customer that want to go to the farmer shops and want to buy some fruits or some other things inside the farmer. So this man is the authorization server. He is the man who the object. He is the man, but he is responsible of letting or not, or allowing or blocking any person want to access or to enter to the farm. And for that, if you have the possibility to that, so you need to show him your ticket. So the ticket is something that you need to handle, and it's our token in the case of APIs, or context. So the ticket is the thing that this man will deliver to you before coming in the farm, and he will also verify it and verify that you have the right ticket and you have the ticket is valid, the date of the ticket is valid, and he will verify it and he will let you enter. Also, we can imagine scopes. For example, if you have a great farm, for example, you are not able to visit some places in the farm, so he will check if you have, even if your ticket is valid, because using this ticket you have you are proving that you are allowed to enter, but you are not allowed to visit all spaces or places inside the farm. So the scope can be considered as, let's say, a restriction. Even if you are authorized and you have the ticket, you will not able to do all you want inside the farm. The client, or let's say the customers, are persons that want to buy something inside the farm. For example, they come to the farm and they want to buy fruit or anything else that you are buying. The application now. The application is the, let's say, the way or the component that lets you communicate with or let you as a consumer to communicate or to access to these resources, and know that there is 4 types of application, and you will see later that depending on the type of application you are or you need to use one grant type for that. So for now, remember that, or keep in mind that we have 4 types of application. You have confidential application, you have public application, you have trusted and untrusted. So, confidential application are application that you have developed, for example, inside your company, and you are maintaining and having, you can, not having, but you can test, or you can validate that you are the person who, or the team, or you have the team that developing it, and you have also maintaining, and you are sure that the code used for your application cannot be used outside your company. The public application is application that are not developed by your team and can be used also to access to your application. The trusted and untrusted, as you know, are application that you can trust because you are the developer, for example, of application. Untrusted is an application that can be used to access your APIs. And from your application, you can access, or you can from your application you can try to access to your resources. What I mean by resources, it could be, for example, your accounts, your bank accounts. It could be also the list of countries that you want to get from a resource server. So when using the application, so you will first of all ask for a resource server. The resource server will ask you if you have a ticket. If not, he will ask you to try to get a ticket to let you get these resources, and you need to ask for this ticket or for this token. Let's call it token now from now from the research server. And the research server, when after verifying that you have the authorization to ask or to get these resources, will deliver to you this access token, and using this access token you will be able to get the resources from the resource server. I told you also that we have grant types, and depending on the use case, you need to use one of these grant types. So the first one is the client credential. The client credential is mainly used when there is a system-to-system interaction. The resource also is owned by a partner and not specific user. The second type of grant type is the resource owner password. When, and in this case, the requesting app must be trusted. So you cannot use the resource owner with untrusted application, and the resource also is owned by the user who is making the request. We have the authorization code. The authorization code, when the requesting application is not trusted, and the resource owner could be also owned by the user. We have the implicit, which now is deprecated and it's not more used, and now it's replaced by the grant type PKCE, or PKCE, which is proof key for concept. Maybe let me remember. So PKCE, PKCE is the proof key of code exchange. Yeah, this is the right name of that. And as I said, it's used when the application is untrusted and the application is public, for example, and one well-known application use case is when your application is web application or a single page application. Now let's deep dive this kind of or all these grant types. And as I said, so since implicit is deprecated, so I will not give any details on that. The first one is the authorization grant type. No, let's start from giving the OAuth grant type command pattern, in which mainly you will, or imagine you will try to access to a resource given or not an access code. The resource server will ask the authorization server at an endpoint, at the introspect endpoint, and ask him to validate this access token. So imagine in this situation that the validation will fail for any reasons, and for that case, we will ask the client to start the OAuth token generation using the right OAuth grant type. So the first one that we will deep dive is the client credential. The client credential, first of all, you need to make a call to the authorization server on the endpoint /token. And the authorization server will validate your credential or the application credential or the credential for the server in this diagram. And if the credential are correct, and the authorization server is able to identify the server and to authenticate the server, so he will send you back the access token. When you get the access token, so the idea is then to use from the server or from the API consumer to call the resources giving the access token. And note that in when you are implementing the authorization, the OAuth2, so you need always to ask or to call the authorization server at the introspect endpoints that let you or will validate for you if the access token is correct or not. One more thing, know that when you call for the access token at the token endpoint, you need to specify that the grant type is client credential. This is the way that you will tell the authorization server that you are using or you want to use the client credential grant type. When the authorization server, as I told you, validate this your credentials, so he will send you back an access token of the token type and can send for you when your access token will expire. The resource owner password credential, so you will make a call on the same endpoint, meaning the /token on the server, on the authorization server, and which is different from the client credential is that after authenticating the user using a trusted application, the application will send, or from the application you will make the call to the authorization server. And one more things that is different comparing to the client credential is you can have the refresh token. So in this case, you will receive from the authorization server the access token and the refresh token. Now let's move to the third grant type that we want to highlight, which is authorization code. Authorization code is, and also the next one, which is PKCE, so are used when we want, or when the backend server or the resource server want to know who is the person making a call or asking for the resource. And in that case, you need to use authorization code or authorization code with PKCE. And as you see here, we have, or this authorization code have two main workflows. Note that always the resource server need to have an access token, and for the client to be able to ask for a resource from the resource server need this access token. And in the case of authorization code and authorization code with PKCE, the idea is, first of all, we need to get a code, and the second step is to exchange the code and getting the token from this code. So the first call that will be made, it will be we will make a call from the confidential app, which is an untrusted app, a call to the / authorize endpoint on the authorization server, and we need to specify that we are making a call to get a code. We define also, or we give the redirect URL as a query parameter of your call. And on the authorization server side, so what we will do, so we will first of all validate that the client ID is a good client ID, and we have this client ID, and also we will validate the redirect query, and we will after this verification and validation, we will ask the user to log itself, and this will start the login phases. When the customer is logged, the authorization server will generate a code and will redirect the user to the redirect query that are already configured on the authorization server. At these steps, the user has received it correctly, or was able to get the code from the authorization server. And now what he will try to do is to exchange this code with and get using this code the access token. And what will happen is we will make a second call to the authorization server, but this time using or at the / token endpoint. The / token endpoint, or after calling this the token endpoint at the authorization server, so the authorization server will validate that the token that received was the token generated in the workflow before. After this validation, the authorization server will send back to the consumer, the access token and the refresh token, and using the access token, the consumer will be able to get the resources from the resource server. Now, as I told you before, there is also the proof key for code exchange PKCE that introduced, and we can ask why you are introducing this new grant type, which is not part of the first version of OAuth 2 protocol. The idea is the public clients cannot protect secret, and OAuth code over HTTPS is safe, but mobile, since you can use mobile application also to get the access token relying on the authorization code, are not safe, and the code may be compromised. That's why we will rely on the cryptography to guarantee that the client exchanging the OAuth code for token also initiated the OAuth request. So the idea is to be sure that the consumer that asking for the access token from the code was the client, or was the actor who initiated the workflow. Note that also that for the PKCE there is an RFC that explain and detail all the concept on PKCE. The PKCE is quite, or it's similar to the client to the authorization code flow, but only what we need to keep in mind that when we will call the authorized endpoint at the authorization server, we will not give or will not send how to say, we will send the client ID, but there is no need to send the client secret more. And we will replace it by using what we call the code challenge and the code verifier. And know that for that we will the confidential application and trust application will just generate a code verifier using a crypto, and will then or after that generate a code challenge from the code verifier using a challenge method. So after that, we will make a call to the authorization server, sending the code challenge and the method used. The authorization server will save the code challenge and will continue the flow as explained before, when will be the same flows or steps than an authorization code flow, meaning we will send back to or we'll ask the consumer to authenticate itself. Then if it's the user was able to authenticate itself, so he will go back, or we will have the callback to the authorization server, and the authorization server will generate a code, send it again to send it back to the consumer, and the next or the next or the next flow, we will on the confidential app we will extract the code and ask for a token, but know that we will send the code now the code verifier. What the authorization server will do, he will or it will validate the code, because he's the generator of the code, so he know that the code is it's fine or not, and the authorization server will recalculate the code challenge using the code verifier. If it's the same, so he will be sure that the code is the right code, and the caller is the same that initiates the workflow. And after that, he will send back to the consumer the access token and the refresh token, and we will the client will make a call as we do before to the authorization to the resource server using the token that he got from the authorization server. Now, keep in mind that when you are implementing OAuth 2 protocol, you need to keep in mind that you need to implement two endpoints. The first one is the authorize, which is the endpoint used to interact with the resource owner and obtain an authorization grant. And note also that the authorization server must first verify the identity of the resource owner. It also used in when you implement the resource owner password credential, when you implement the authorization code, and also when you implement authorization code with PKCE. The second endpoint that is relevant is the slash token, and the slash token is always the endpoint that give to the customer, to the consumer, the token, and in some situations, for some grant types, the refresh token. For the response, in case of success, you need always send back 200 to the consumer, sending back to him also the access token, the token expired, and in some cases the refresh token and the scopes, because they are optional, they are not mandatory. In case of error, so you need to send back to the customer if there is an error when generating the code. I suppose that now it's much clear for OAuth 2, and maybe that's fine. And now we need to know about OIDC. So quickly, OIDC is an authentication protocol based on OAuth 2. So meaning you will use the same grant type, the same workflow, the same terminology, but we'll add two extra concepts, which are GWT or JOT and ID token. The GWT or the JOT token will be or have three parts. We have the header, in which we will specify which algorithm you are using. The type is JOT. We have the body with a set of claims. Know that we have reserved claims, but you can add extra claims. And we have the signature. Is the signature is the way that will let you let you be sure that the claims are not modified during after generating the GW token. And the question is, what is the difference between access token and ID token? So the access token is used or is generated from the authorization server and is used to access to the resource. So it's your token, your access token, and in this when you are using OIDC, it will be a JOT token. And the ID token, which can be also a JOT token, is generated by the OpenID provider, and it's used mainly by the web application to extract some information like your email, your name, your address, etc. Hopefully, it's or all what I presented let you see clearly the OAuth concept and OIDC and the difference between them. And if you have any question, don't hesitate, and please let me know your feedbacks using this QR code.